On this edition of Cronkite Sports Report, how sports broadcasters are making the call with COVID,
the biggest controversy rising from Phoenix sports,
why California club baseball teams are coming to the Valley,
and how COVID is affecting scholarship opportunities for high school seniors.
These stories coming your way now on Cronkite Sports Report. Hello and welcome into Cronkite Sports Report. I'm Reed Harmon.
And I'm Serena Raboyne. Our team at Arizona State University's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication looks to bring you unique stories with an Arizona connection. Sports in the time of COVID have been a whirlwind. 1 minute they're canceled, the next they're back. Sports broadcasters have had to navigate these difficult times and still provide us the content we need. I caught up with some local sports broadcasters about what it's like to work in the pandemic.
March 12th, 2020, the day that sports stood still. Sports leagues across the world shut down completely due to the COVID-19 pandemic, no matter what point in the season they were in. Jody Jackson, the Diamondbacks and Coyotes pregame and postgame host for Fox Sports Arizona, was just getting started with the busiest time of her year.
I found myself like, oh my gosh, like this is really happening. There's no hockey game happening. The NBA has been canceled. Spring training is shutting down. It was just a really strange feeling.
Other sports broadcasters like Kevin Ray, the play-by-play announcer for the Phoenix Suns, found themselves in an unforeseen situation.
The impact was just the fact that I went from doing a game basically almost every other day to having no games. Not sure when those games would be played, if they would be played.
After a few months on the sidelines, sports slowly started coming back. Some leagues, like the NBA and NHL, established bubbles where all of the teams would be in the same city and keep outside risks to a minimum. But there were new challenges to covering the teams in those bubbles. For Ray and Coyotes play-by-play announcer Matt McConnell, they weren't even in the same arena as their teams.
The only broadcast teams that were allowed there were the national crews. So any local TV or local radio broadcast crews were all forced to broadcast remotely. So we did the 8 Suns games from a small studio in a building that's just adjacent to the arena.
One big part of covering teams and calling play-by-play is talking with the players and coaches before and after games, which was limited during the pandemic.
Play-by-play in a lot of ways, in my mind, is a rapport business. I didn't have that opportunity really to do one-offs with other players, and you're on a Zoom call with the entire Phoenix media. So there's nothing that you can really kind of go off the record with. You can't really have one-on-one conversations.
Yeah, media relations, they've done a great job. But they can't possibly offer the amount of interviews that you could do in person if you were just in there.
But one of the biggest adjustments that these broadcasters have had to make was how to actually broadcast the game.
Calling a game off a monitor, I've told people that it's kind of like driving down the 101 and only being able to see, you're sitting there, you're driving along, and it would be like only being able to see out of the driver's side of the windshield. You have no peripheral vision.
There were moments in those games where you would kind of have to, almost lift yourself up a little bit and remind yourself that you've got to take the energy level a little bit higher, because like a player, when you're in the arena as a broadcaster, you feed off of some of that energy that the fans, have.
While the COVID-19 pandemic has provided some obstacles, sports announcers across the country have had to step up to the challenge of making sure that their audience still receives a quality broadcast.
With COVID, I think we made the best of a really, really tough situation. I think it was important that we did what we did, but hopefully we'll be beyond that and we can move along.
Only time will tell if and when things will return to normal in the world of sports.
One positive from the pandemic is that these broadcasters now have time to work on some outside projects. Matt McConnell and Jody Jackson both worked on podcasts called Sports Booth and Everyday Heroes, respectively.
Coming up after the break, how some sports communities are still a work in progress in trying to unify athletes and teams.
It ripped my heart out. And I thought that I'm pretty tough, but it ripped my heart out and it really got me to a low spot. I wonder how that Colin Martin's doing.
Welcome back to Cronkite Sports Report.
Sports are often viewed as platforms of inclusion, interaction, and team spirit. But recurring instances of hate suggest that achieving a sense of equality among athletes, fans, and coaches is still a work in progress. Cronkite Sports reporter Harry Croton looks at how one recent event in Phoenix sports emphasizes the need for a comprehensive solution.
Bobby Lancaster is an Arizona physician and former pro golfer. Until 2010, she lived her life as Robert and was no stranger to discrimination. So it was no surprise to Lancaster when she heard about an incident involving the Phoenix Rising Football Club. Rising forward Junior Flemings was charged, fined, and suspended by the league for using a homophobic slur against San Diego Loyal midfielder Colin Martin during a game in late September.
It ripped my heart out. And I thought that I'm pretty tough, but it ripped my heart out and it really got me to a low spot. I wonder how that Colin Martin's doing.
What was encouraging to Lancaster was how Martin's team supported. At the time, Loyal manager Landon Donovan took his team off the field in protest.
We all decided that if the player who used the homophobic slur was not removed from the game, either through the officials or through their coach, that we were not going to play. Because if they're not willing to act, then we have to act. We have no choice.
That's the goosebump moment for me. I don't know that that would have ever happened 15, 20, 30, 40 years ago. And that's just such a positive thing that happened there.
Donovan brought attention to an issue that was in no way the first of its kind. Over even just the past few years, instances of homophobic slurs and hateful speech have emerged within several major sports leagues. For LGBTQ athletes, it demonstrates how little things have changed, but also each incident gives hope that teams are finally beginning to evolve.
One of the reoccurring themes has been learning, and we're going to use this moment as an opportunity to learn and grow and progress and move forward.
Acceptance is one of the biggest challenges for LGBTQ athletes. But considering Martin is the only openly gay man in any of the Big Five American sports leagues, it can be hard to feel comfortable staying in the game. ASU biology professor Sarah Brownell says instances of hate in professional sports can lead to fear of participation and the struggle for one to perform and succeed with a concealed identity.
If you have an invisible identity, you have the extra pressure of deciding whether or not you reveal that identity, right? Do you have this secret? Like, do you have this secret life? Do you have this secret that then, you're constantly worried that someone's going to tell the media and out yourself, right, inappropriately?
In Arizona, athletes and their families argue that in order to create an equal playing field, there's still a lot of ground to cover. For instance, many Arizona parents strongly criticize the Save Women's Sports Act, a proposed bill that would ban transgender female athletes from participating in school sports. Brownell says ensuring a sense of equality begins with recognizing hidden identities as protected ones.
If someone can actually lose their job or be legally discriminated against for being a member of that community, that's going to make people a lot more worried about revealing their identity, right? That's beyond kind of a personal worry or an inaccurate worry. That's a real worry.
Since the incident between the Rising and Loyal, efforts have been made within the Phoenix organization to heal and grow. Head coach Rick Shantz spoke to how the situation affected his family and sense of understanding. He now meets with LGBTQ leaders and makes a conscious effort to stay educated.
I need to make sure that everyone learns from my experience and how to be a good leader, how to be a coach in today's times, and make sure that people are aware that inclusion should be an extremely strong value in all the organizations.
It's an evolution that LGBTQ athletes like Lancaster are optimistic about, but no change won't happen overnight.
We just got to keep plugging too. And it's just not a simple matter of, well, it's just going to go away, because it just didn't go away forever through the 1950s and 60s and 70s and 80s. But it's going away, but we just have to collectively keep doing whatever it is that we can individually do.
Lancaster says for sports, inclusion comes down to knowing your role in guiding the group to success. And as athletes continue to showcase pride in their skills and physical prowess, the focus is also to amplify the pride one has in their identity. Harry Croton, Cronkite Sports Report.
Major leagues will continue to host Pride Nights as a way to bring their fans and teams together.
Up next, we discover why California youth baseball players are chasing their dreams on the diamonds in the desert.
We hope that California can see, what's going on here and how safe it is and the precautions, and maybe we'll be able to play in California.
Welcome back to Cronkite Sports Report.
Due to tight COVID-19 restrictions on youth sports in California, a number of teams are making the trip across state lines to play organized games. Cronkite News reporter Adam Noel spoke with the team, who's been searching for their own field of dreams.
Wyatt Miyamoto is a typical California teen. He loves baseball and has been waiting all year to play. But back home, the 14-year-old isn't able to because of COVID. Instead of staying home, he and his teammates have made the trip all the way to Arizona.
Yeah, everybody was ready to play. I mean, I feel like a lot of people also wanted a trip because, a lot of people have been cooped up at home, so it's just fun to get out and go somewhere new.
Miyamoto is a member of the Benicia Wolfpack, a team located just north of San Francisco. California health guidelines have restricted youth teams to only being able to practice and allow for zero competition. That means no games, no tournaments, and no seasons for hundreds and hundreds of teams. That has left the Wolfpack struggling to find places to play.
Extremely frustrating, yeah, it really is. We just got an email yesterday saying that any upcoming tournaments for this year probably will not happen. I don't anticipate anything changing in California until the new year at best.
For the Wolfpack, that left only one option: come to Arizona.
We're super appreciative that Arizona is allowing the kids to play, and we hope that California can see what's going on here and how safe it is and the precautions, and maybe we'll be able to play in California.
The Grand Canyon State's Department of Public Health is allowing youth sports competition. As a result, the state has hosted a number of local baseball tournaments. And when you look at the teams signing up for those tournaments, one thing immediately stands out. A lot come from out of state. Top Choice Baseball here in Arizona is one of many who've taken in the extra teams.
The Valley is more of a destination point for them. No matter what's open at the time, I still think this is a place where they either have family or there's just a lot more opportunities for them to do stuff outside the ball field as well to just help accommodate their trip.
And those numbers are similar when you look at other cities in Arizona. Places like Phoenix, Tucson, and Yuma have all experienced the trend. But Peralt says that it isn't a surprise to see lots of California teams scheduled through the coming weeks.
There's really not a time frame on when they're going to be able to return to normalcy as well for those teams. And I've continued to see that in signups this winter as well, January and as well into March.
With COVID-19 cases surging across the country, it doesn't seem like California will be nearing a decision on letting youth teams compete. But in Arizona, tournaments like here in Peoria are still being played through the remainder of 2020.
The tournament that was posted when they said that we were going to play at a minor league complex like this, which is beautiful, it was a no-brainer for us.
And in the case of Yuma, the city is so close to the California border that making the trip from San Diego only takes around 2.5 hours. It's been a popular spot for California teams looking to make a shorter drive than, say, Phoenix or Tucson. And while the tourism has benefited the city of Yuma, there are still some businesses that have taken advantage of the extra foot traffic, namely the hotel industry.
Like one day I was coming and I was talking to the hotel because I was actually staying in a hotel for a while, and I went to check in Monday morning like I always had. And they said, "Oh, we're so sorry, we don't have any rooms. We were completely 100% sold out last night."
Hotels located in Yuma are charging upwards of $300 or more a night for weekends in November. Those aren't typical rates in Yuma for youth sports teams coming in from out of town.
Instead of just being, a couple of athletes with, their coaches or whatever, yeah, we're seeing entire teams worth of families coming to Yuma.
But for parents, the expensive stay doesn't dissuade them from making the journey across state lines for the chance to play.
The kids, they've been practicing all year. So for the entire year 2020, and they've never been able to play. So we felt that the kids, they worked hard, that they deserved to at least play in a tournament.
For kids like Miyamoto, be it practice or games, he's just happy to be back on the field.
I'm thankful that we get to practice because, that's a lot of fun. It's better than just sitting at home. So, I think this is enough that we get to, go out and play a tournament.
It will take everyone working together to maintain a safe and healthy environment on the diamond. Adam Noel, Cronkite Sports Report.
Arizona youth baseball tournaments have continued to play by maintaining a number of safety rules, including limited fan attendance, mandatory masks, and shortening games to just 2 hours.
Coming up, how one volleyball player set herself up for success through a difficult pandemic recruiting process.
College camps beforehand, before it all kicked in, and that allowed her time to look at different colleges, because without that, she wouldn't, I don't know what we would have done.
Welcome back to Cronkite Sports Report.
COVID-19 has impacted sports on all levels, but high school players are scrambling to salvage any opportunity they can to earn a college scholarship. Limited travel has altered much of the recruiting process in volleyball. Cronkite Sports reporter Hadley Heck tracks the #2 player in the country who ended up on the right side of the statistics.
Jordan Middleton is one of the lucky ones. The Hamilton High School standout and national #2 player for the class of 2022 is college-bound. Middleton committed to the University of Southern California earlier this year.
For me to decide for SC, I went to one of their camps a few years ago. And when I went there, I really thought that it was a really nice school, and I thought it would be a good fit for me.
Jordan is an elite company. According to the NCAA, only 1.2% of 400,000 girls who play high school volleyball go on to play at the Division I college level. Even more fortunate is that the 6'2" juniors recruiting process took place prior to the COVID-19 pandemic.
I'm happy that she was able to at least attend the college camps beforehand, before it all kicked in. And that allowed her time to look at different colleges, because without that, she wouldn't, I don't know what we would have done, honestly.
Despite the pandemic, Arizona high schools played a full volleyball season. But the true vehicle for young volleyball players to get to the next level is playing club. Jordan started playing club in just 5th grade.
I started playing volleyball mainly because a lot of my family members played it, and so me watching them when I was younger really made me want to get into it. So I started playing volleyball at age 9, 10.
As she improved and got older, she began to realize where volleyball could take her.
Originally, it was just to have fun and then playing with my teammates, but then when I started to get more into it and learning everything, my goal was to try and get a scholarship and go to the best school that I possibly could.
But club volleyball is a commitment and an investment. Just one season could cost families upwards of $5,000.
So every club does it differently, but club volleyball can range anywhere from $1,000 to almost $5,000. I've seen it as expensive as $6,000. So, and a lot of parents think, well, it all kind of scratches out once they get that full ride.
But for Jordan's family, watching her compete makes it all worth it.
I love watching Jordan play and the fact that she loves the game. So we don't push her to go and play, go to practice. She wants to go to practice and she wants to play. So watching her play something that she loves is worth it.
One of the reasons club volleyball is typically so expensive is because clubs travel all over the country to massive tournaments to gain exposure to college coaches. But due to the coronavirus, the recruiting process has shifted, and now more than ever, athletes are relying on film instead of live exposure.
I know it's definitely going to be much harder for them, especially taking this 1 year away from them for coaches to be looking at them, but I definitely think that they'll be able to get more coaches coming in these next coming up years.
But Jordan's facing another challenge due to the coronavirus. She isn't able to visit USC's campus for her NCAA official recruiting visit. The official visit is a crucial part of the recruiting process and serves as an opportunity for incoming players to get familiar with the program.
Sad not being able to go on the officials because I'm definitely excited to go on one. But really the best I can do is just calling the coaches, bonding with future teammates, and getting to know one another.
Regardless of the trials and tribulations caused by the pandemic, Jordan's full ride Division I offer has been the silver lining.
It's a relief. It's nice that all her hard work has paid off.
Jordan's ambitions continue as her next goal has a global reach.
My dream ever since when I started playing volleyball and I started to get more into it was to go into the Olympics. So that's always been my huge focus for volleyball, and that's where I really want my career to take me.
As the COVID-19 pandemic continues to impact the sports world, it's important to find value in small victories.
A COVID-altered club volleyball season gets underway shortly after the new year.
That's all for this episode of Cronkite Sports Report. You can catch more of our content by heading over to cronkitenews.azpbs.org or by following us on Twitter @SportsCronkite.
On behalf of the entire team and our producer, Henry Steiner, I'm Serena Raboyne.
And I'm Reed Harmon. Thanks for joining us.